Okay, so we're just going to go through the format of the event again, and on this video, which you should be able to send around to people. To start from the beginning then, there are going to be 20 teams of 4, and in each team you have 2 men and 2 women, and a club can send 1 team or 2 teams. So the big clubs like Tervuren and Tournai and Tongren will send 2 teams, no question. And then there might be clubs that can only send 1. Now within each team, so for example take Tervuren, who's sending 2 teams. So the first team, TV1, would have 2 couples in it, and within that, one of the mixed doubles pairs is defined as the X pair and the other is the Y pair. So that means really that the stronger one is the X and the other one is the Y, and we'll go on to why that's important later. So the basic format is that since you've got 20 teams, you divide them into 4 groups of 5, and they all play each other in men's and in women's. So in that group phase, each team would play 8 games, and you as a player within that team will play half of them. Either you play the men's games or the women's games. So at the end of that process, you have a group table, which is ranked by, first of all, wins. So if you win 7 games, you finish ahead of someone who finishes 6, who's won 6 games, even if their points difference was better. Let's suppose that they crushed all the games that they won, but lost 1 more than you. You'd still finish ahead of them if you won more than they did. H to H means head to head, so if you're level on wins and points difference, unlikely after 8 games, but it could happen, then it's the head to head result, so the result between you. Those were 2 games, of course, that you played, a men's game and a women's game. So let's suppose that even that was level, that you won a men's game and lost the women's game, then it's the women's result that counts. Play to 11 gap of 2. I think we've got time to do that from the start. We could impose a restriction. For example, if it went to 12-12, then say, okay, 13-12 wins it. But for now, let's just say we're going to be playing 11 gap of 2. So you play out the group. You have a division. You have a group table. So each group, there's 5 teams in it, so you can finish in any one of 5 positions, and that determines which division you then go into. So if you win the group, you go into the 5th division. Okay? If you come 4th in your group, you go into the 4th division. And there are 5 divisions, or 4. So 4 times 5 groups goes into 5 times 4 divisions. Right, so since there are 4 teams in each division, you play a semi, a final, and a 3rd, 4th in each division. So regardless of where you finished in the group stage, you're still playing a semi. And even if you lost that, you'd still be playing a final. So every player is guaranteed 8 matches during the day. Now, each of those knockout games, let's call them, the semis and the finals, is 4 games. So I've said here XX, YY, XY, YX. That means, as we were talking before, you've got within the team, you've got the X pair and the Y pair. So all of the 4 combinations play each other. The outcome is determined by the number of wins. So if it's 4-0, obviously one team has won. Even if it's 3-1, one team has obviously won. It doesn't matter about the points accumulation. So you could win 3 games 11-9 and then lose the last one 11-0. You would have a negative points difference, but you'd still go through because you won 3 games. Only when it's 2-2 do you take into account the points difference, PD. Okay. Now, what happens then if you won 11-9, lost 11-9, won 11-8, lost 11-8? What would happen then? You're level on wins, you're level on points difference, you then look at the XX result, so which is also the last game that is played. I will be showing you this on the order of play screen in a moment. And then we can make decisions in running whether you play to 11, maybe we play to 15. If we think we've got enough time, we might well just say, okay, play to 15. Play the final games perhaps just to 15. And then finally, at the end, we play what is called the MVP final, and possibly even the bronze, which is you look at the system tracks which individual player won most. It's likely to be one of the players, a player in one of the teams that won it or came second overall within each division. Well, say the MVP is Division 1, of course. So it's likely to be either the team that won it or came second, because they did well, obviously. But the idea is that the top 2 men, the top 2 women, will then play a final and possibly a bronze game as well, if we've got time. And that's final. Hopefully, it will be refereed. There are several referees we've got now that are qualified referees. As long as at least one of them isn't actually involved in the match, which would be unfortunate, but I suppose it could happen. But anyway, even if it isn't, if all the referees are involved in the game itself, then obviously we can't referee it. I'll still have someone watching the kitchen lines. But okay, so let's get on now to the order of play. So this is how the day proceeds. So you've got Group A, B, C, and D. So yeah, 4 groups. And here you can see the composition of the groups. If we just scroll a little bit this way, we can see that these are the group compositions before the game starts. So in Group A, you've got Antwerp 1, Bierbeek 2, Cambridge 1, Tournai 2, Namur 2. And if you look at the fixtures over here, you can see that the first scheduled game is AN1W versus BB2W. What does that mean? Antwerp 1 women, okay, against Bierbeek 2 women. Right, now you see there's some names here. Ilza and Chris are playing for Bierbeek. Why do I know that? I'm just reusing the data that we had last year, this year still, in 2024, at the Tvuden tournament, where we had 6 teams sending 8 players each. So I've just reused all those names. That's the data that you see in front of you. In the case of Antwerp, they weren't there, so I've just invented, well, I've just put code names. W1 means woman 1. And you'll see a little C sign, it means captain, next to the W1. Right, and then the second game is AN1M versus BB2M. And that means Antwerp 1 men against Bierbeek 2 men. Right, so let's suppose the first game went 11-9. Right, so we've got a little macro button here. So we press that, and you'll see that the result arrives here. So Antwerp won it. They've won 1. They played 1, won 1 women's game. They've won 1 game in total, and they've got a points difference of 2. And Bierbeek at the bottom here, because they won game, they played a game and lost it, so they've got a negative points difference. All right, so let's play out that whole game. We'll simulate the results here. So I'm just going to copy some random numbers and paste them in. Sorry, order play. Very special numbers. Okay. Right, so now we'll get the calculation of the group, and this time we can see what the results were, and Tournai won the group. Okay, so let's do the same for the other divisions. And paste results. So this is actually really good because the numbers actually change every time I press paste. So it is actually randomized. Alright, so now calculate groups. We can see now the results of the entire first phase. Oh, before I go on, here's the timing parameters. This is important. We can keep an eye on this as we go through the day. So if we, for example, think that we've got time to play the semis and the finals to 15, we can add 5 minutes to the length, and we can see the end time now is 17:30. Have we got time? Yes, we have. Let's do it, for example. Or we might say, no, we would need to finish earlier than that. Go back to that. Anyway, here's the group results. So, and it tells you what the semi-final lineup is going to be, because now what you're going to get is the top division is going to be Tournai 2, Tervuren 1, Tournai 1, they did well, and Arscott 2. And there you see, Tournai, Tervuren, Tournai, Arscott. And then the other divisions, like the bottom division here, or Bierbeek, look, I'm sorry about that, you did badly there. Demir 2, Tongeren 2, Bierbeek 1, Tervuren 2. So there you are, you can see you're right down here. Okay, so you're now playing the semi-final. So let's look at the first division here. Tournai 2 against Tervuren 1. So you can see each one of these games is one of these two semis. There's a code here which tells you what it is. It's the first semi-final played between Y and the X. And there's the event YX. So let's put in a score. 11-8. So, and what happens? Suddenly you see the result of, say, 1S2. Okay, so that's the second semi-final, 1S2. Against being played against between Tournai 1 and AS2. And you'll see the result here, and it's given it as 13 minus 3. What does that mean? Well, you won by 3. Okay, you get 10 points for the win plus the points difference. So in this case, the winner would get 13 points and the loser gets minus 3. All right, now why do I give 10 points for the win? It's just so that the wins outweigh the points difference. Yeah, so that regardless of in a 3-1 situation, you want the wins to count more than the points difference. So you award extra points for the win. Right, so let's go down to the next result in here. Let's suppose now Arscott fights back and they win the next one. We see now that they get 12 points because they won by 2. And you get these, and Tournai got minus 2. Right, now let's go back here. Let's suppose they now win quite easily the third game. They win it by 5. So now we see 26-4. So that means that you can see from this that the last game has to be won by 6. So to go through. So who's ahead? Tournai are ahead. And let's suppose that if they won by any score, they go through. It doesn't matter. Let's suppose now that they did in fact level it to 2-2. You'll see here. Sorry, I meant 11. Yeah. So here you can see who won it. Tournai won it. But let's suppose that because they held on, they only lost by 4. But let's suppose they lost this many. They got crushed. And the result goes the other way. Now you can see there's a 0.5 here. You can see there's an extra half. That's just to give the last game, the XX game, more importance. So if it was exactly level, so if it was a 5, then that would make the scores exactly level. Yeah, in terms of this, so you've got +3, -2, +5, -6. That would make the scores exactly level. But since Arscott won the last game, the XX, they get an extra half a point, and that gives them the win. Okay, that's what I meant by saying that the XX result is like the casting vote. It's an extra half a point. If the points difference are the same, I'm saying. Yeah. So it goes to wins. As I can say, it goes to wins. If it's 4-0, 3-1, we know who won. If it's 2-2, then it's the points difference. And if the points difference are the same as in this scenario, then the winner is the team that won the last game. Right, so we will now let's put in some more results. Let's put in 10. Was it 8? 8 results. Copy. Okay, so all the semi-final results are in, and we can see who won in each case, and we can see the final lineup. So, Tavirum managed to get through to the final. Right, Tavirum 1 are playing Tonight 1 in the final. Okay, and this is the third, fourth game, but it's coded 1F2, which means it's a final. So it's because everybody plays a semi and a final. But this effectively is the third, fourth in that division. And going down through the divisions, this is the final of the second division. And this is the bronze game of the second division. And then this is the final of the third and the bronze of the third. Or the third, it's not bronze, it's third, fourth. So there's a final, a grand finale and a petit finale for every division. Okay, so now what do you play as an individual? You're playing 2 of those 4 games in each semi and 2 of the 4 games in the final. So that means that you will play 4 mixed doubles games. So that's why you're playing 8 games in total, because you play 4 gender games in the morning. So if you're a male, you'll play the 4 men games in your group, and then you'll play 4 out of the 8 mixed doubles games in the afternoon, making a total of 8 guaranteed games. So now we have the finals line up. So let's put the scores in for this as well. And exactly the same thing happens in that the scores are added of the 4 games. And then it's ranked in order of wins, points difference, and then the XX result. Right, so now we can see who won it. Okay. Oh, we go. Okay, we lost the final. Tavirum lost the final to Tonai. So Tonai won. The first team of Tonai won the tournament. Okay. That's the team tournament. Now, if I just go back and calculate the groups again, the reason I'm going to do this is because it adds up the individual scores. So now, if I go right over to the other side of the sheet, I can look up the MVP, most valuable player rankings of each division. So Tournai did extremely well. They won. They got 2 teams into the first division. They won the tournament, and they came third as well. So they got a lot of teammates in the top portion of the most valuable player. So now we're going to play an MVP final. In fact, I think also a bronze. I think there's probably time to play the bronze, but my suggestion is that we also play a bronze game. So who's going to play the MVP final? Well, it should be the top woman. That's this one, Dana of Tournai, playing with the second placed man, which would be Nico, also of Tournai. Now, who's the other opponent? Who would be? It would be Vincent, would be the top man. Oh, this is actually a Tournai wipeout with Ore, also of Tournai. So it's going to be completely dominated by Tournai, this MVP final. But anyway, this is what you get in these simulations. It's completely random. But Tournai won this completely and got all their top flying. Note that this poor chap, James, although he's in the top 4, doesn't get to play in the final because he's only the third placed man. Yeah, and so we only the second. So it's going to be this one, this one, this one, and this one that will play the MVP final. Not James, because he's the third placed man. So we could, if we wanted to save time, we could just award bronze in the MVP to the third place man and the third place woman. So James will get it for the man, and then it will be this one. Tamara will get it for the woman. Or you could play a bronze game in the MVP, which I suggest we actually do. I think there's time for that. So therefore, these two, James and Tamara, will be playing against each other, against the next 2. Right? So 8 players will be involved in that. And I suggest, in fact, if there's a possibility of mixing up the sides in the MVP so that clubmates don't play with each other, then we should do that. Impossible to avoid in this case because Tournai won everything. But I think we should, the actual pairings in the final, in the MVP games, the final and the bronze, should try to avoid players that are in the same team. So that would kind of mix it up, give it a bit of spice if they weren't actual clubmates. And that is only possible if the rankings don't dictate that you will be playing with your clubmates. Okay, so there are also MVP rankings for all the other divisions as well, right down to Division 5. So we're not going to stand up at the end and announce everything, but we'll leave the screen open so people can come and have a look after the game's over. They can check their scores, see how well they did. And then we'll have a medal presentation where you would give medals to the team that won it. So gold, silver, bronze, and then you would give medals, individual medals, to the MVP winners. Okay. So I hope that has explained it all. And if not, come back to me with questions.